Hello, World Civ 107. Welcome to week 6. And I just want to say, for the most part, again, things are looking good in terms of the work that you're turning in. Some of you have contacted me, and you've noticed that when you look on your grades for the assignments, that there are assignments that are showing up that you're not seeing in the module. This is a problem I have with Canvas that I need to fix still. Every assignment that I've ever had in different classes, even if I switch the assignment, it's like it's keeping them still in the assignment category. So in other words, like this class, if I had taught a summer class, I had to make it shorter and had to arrange the assignments differently. And those assignments are still showing up, even though I'm using something different for this one. What you need to realize, as long as you don't put any work in them, they don't affect your grade in any way. So the only thing you need to worry about are the assignments in each week's module. When you look down and I open up a module for the week and you see the assignments there, you turn the assignments in those links there, and you're fine. Okay, so I realize it's a little unnerving. I'm sorry about that, but I promise you, those are not affecting anything. Just stay away from them. Don't think about them. Don't look at them. Just focus on the module ones, and that's all you need to worry about. Okay, and when you do look in your grades, everything is reflected based on all of the stuff going on within the module work. That's it. Okay, that's my point. Okay. So with this week, we are transitioning into just talking about India and Japan. I would have liked to do a better job of India. Again, this class, I just want to remind you that I have limited time to cover many topics. And it's occasionally just going to be limited, and I apologize for that. So if some of you wanted me to hit harder on certain points from India in this section, I'm sorry that it didn't happen. But you still should be learning a lot and getting insight into some things that are important. So keep that in mind. And then in terms of the Japanese Meiji restoration, the video clip, the last one I have, the middle part gets a little bit convoluted in terms of explaining a lot of things in a short period of time. It's, I think, a little too much. What I want you to focus on, though, is the main points that are brought up in the beginning and the end of the short clip on the Meiji restoration, the animated version, just to kind of like reiterate some of the points that I brought up in the lecture. And later on, and I'm going to bring this up again in another announcement, when we're talking about this transformation of Japan to being modernized and asserting itself through Western methods, we are going to see Japan really assert itself in a way that it never had before. And the topic of Japan, as I mentioned in some of my lectures, was a much bigger part of American discourse when I grew up in the Cold War years, because Japan was the enemy of the United States, occupied, and then just burst with all of this kind of capitalist energy and technology and innovations. And there was so much chatter, sometimes very negative, as I mentioned in one of my videos, about Japanese products. Now, this might be hard for you to realize when many of you are always hearing about China, and this is Trump's thing, right? China, China, China. The trade wars with China. We're always hearing about China. But that's not how it was most of the time when I grew up. Even though we were so anti-communist as a nation during those years, keeping in mind, I just need to clarify, we're going to learn more about this later on. China, the Communist Party of China, although still identifying itself as communist, has opened up to capitalist markets since the 70s and really did it later on under Deng Xiaoping. the reason why you see so many things now that said made in China is because China opened up their closed socialist economy and allowed international business to come in. They used a model similar to what they saw in Singapore. Okay, a critic of this, so this is sounds pejorative, but calls it authoritarian capitalism. You could certainly say that it's a strong state with capitalism, but I think that that's a fair description, regardless of what one thinks about the value of the word authoritarian. In other words, not a liberal capitalist. In other words, not a liberal democracy with capitalism, but a strong state with one party that is allowing capitalism. And that makes it confusing to people because China has the largest communist party in the world, officially defines itself as a socialism with Chinese characteristics, but Nike is there making stuff. And if you don't get this, and this is something we'll talk about later, you won't get China and where China is at now. Okay? And you'll notice even that Trump is having a trade war with China, not a war against socialism and communism as such. And that's because, again, it's not a socialist economy in the way that the revolution's what we'll learn about later. And I'll talk about this again also, but I was in Hong Kong for 3 months. 2 months, and this is recently, 2 months before all these demonstrations were happening that have been upset with the government in Hong Kong and mainland China. And I was there for a month in the middle of all of that. There were no signs calling for against socialism or even using the word communism. They have issues that really dealt with what people would call authoritarianism or rights, are more like their rights to do certain things or have the power to act in their own way outside of the dictates of the mainland. And I'm not getting into that right now, but my point is that, again, keep in mind that all these things kind of change over time. But the last thing, when I was in Hong Kong, I saw a presentation on Japan, and an ethnic Chinese woman, I don't know if she was from mainland China or Hong Kong or Taiwan, just spewed out so much anger and hatred at Japan. You'll learn more about this later, but she was very irrational and was attacking the fellow academic doing a presentation that really, she was acting like the woman was defending war crimes by Japan, and that wasn't the case. But this tension and all these problems between ethnic Chinese and Japan are rooted, in a sense, with the shifts that happen here from the Meiji Restoration onwards into modern times. That's the point I want you to know, okay? So sorry as I kind of went all over the place. Again, if you have any questions, text me. I'll be working from my other job Monday and Tuesday, and then I'll be working from home Wednesday and Thursday. Have a good week.